Hopefully you were able to successfully set up some test cases in order to test the methods that we implemented in the last lecture. So we are now going to go over my test cases for our methods. So the first thing that we need to do is just set up where we conduct our tests. So we will give it our config test and we will call it mod test, and we will bring in our queue into scope. For our first test, we're going to actually be able to test two methods that we implemented. We're going to be able to test in adding in a couple of values and then also test our isEmpty method. So let's go ahead and do that by creating a new queue, adding in some values. So we will say 1 and 2, and if we successfully added in values, then our assert equals on QueueT should return false. So if we successfully added in values, then our test should return false if we're looking to see if it is empty or not. So now we're going to test our dequeue method, and this is going to let us see if we are returning values correctly when we take them out of the queue. So we need to create our queue again. We need to add in some values. So again, we get to test our onQueue method even more. And now we can test if values are correctly taken out of the queue. So when we run queue.dequeue, we expect this to be sum 1. Our next test, we will evaluate peaking. So let's create our queue equals queue new, and here we will add in our typical values of 1 and 2. And when we do our assert equals, we will queue.peak, and we expect sum and a reference to the 1 to be returned. And then for our next test case, we will test out our length. So we will say let mute queue is equal to a new queue. We will add in a value, add in our next value, and we will assert equals queue.length and check that it equals to 2. So let's make sure we have tested all of our methods. So we did new, enqueue, dequeue, peak length, and isEmpty. So if we run this, we would expect everything to pass successfully, which is what we got. So hopefully you are able to see that implementing a queue is very similar to implementing in a stack. And the key difference between a stack and a queue is the order in which values are put in and taken out. A stack is LIFO, meaning last in, first out, and a queue is FIFO, first in, first out. So if you have any questions about my implementation or even one of your implementations, please feel free to ask them in the Q&A section.